I didn't have much of a North Star. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so I went away to be an au pair for a few years in Ireland.
I just had the most interesting conversation with Meghan Denny, someone that I've known for the past year, but discovered new layers of Meghan today. She worked as an au pair after she finished high school in Ireland. She talked about her very non-traditional path that she's followed, not only in her life, but in her career. I think you're going to really love hearing from Meghan Denny. Today, my guest is Meghan Denny. Hi, Meghan.
Hi, Kat.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Are you?
I really am, because I love your laugh. It's a great laugh. And you're such a fun person. And people really, love all the joy you bring to them. So I'm really excited to hear your story.
Oh, well, I'm really excited to be here and honored to have been asked. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Tell us, what do you do for C&G? What's your role here?
So I am in the middle of transitioning to a role on our internal communications team, working for Katie Whalen. But I started here as an executive assistant for Greg Jorgensen.
Yeah. Of course, I know that answer, but I wanted you to tell all our listeners. So how long have you worked for C&G?
Just over a year. I hit my 1 year back in May. So just a little bit over 1 year.
Wow.
I know it feels like much longer than that, but only because it's been so much fun.
In a good way.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've accomplished a lot in 1 year.
A lot.
It's been a lot of fun.
And you, when you were in your previous role, did such a great job making our visitors feel welcome here and taking such good care of the team. You always, have that extra little touch of making sure people have what they want or what you anticipate they're going to need. So where does that caring, sort of helpful spirit come from?
It's funny because I could either go really therapeutic with this answer or I could stay very corporate.
Oh,
I think at the end of the day,
let's go deep.
I think at the end of the day, and you can charge me by the hour if we really go deep. But I'm the oldest daughter. I'm the oldest cousin in my family. And so I think a lot of those like innate watching the people around me and hurting the people around me and caring for the people around me comes from that experience of being the guinea pig of the entire family. And it is a blessing and a curse. But at the end of the day, for this role, it was such a blessing because I've worked for some very senior executives at different companies. And at the end of the day, they are just a person. And so when you deal with, and you would probably know this better than anyone else, when you deal with people that tiptoe around you and speak to you with only the rose-colored glasses about everything going on in a company, you're probably most looking for someone who's just going to speak to you like a human and tell you the real. And so I learned through experience in this role, coming up through companies, that any CEO, any senior VP, any executive, it just wants someone to be real with them and to treat them like a human so that they can do their job most effectively. And we're all just coming to work every day. So it doesn't matter where you sit in the company, how senior or junior you are, you're just coming to work to do your best job, to go home and see your family and your friends and take a vacation every once in a while. So that's why I think fine-tuning the experience portion of it is just fun for me. I am an observer by nature, an empath by nature. And so I feel when other people are comfortable, and that's where I feel the most comfortable and safe. So to make other people feel special and seen and provided for is one of my superpowers.
I love that. That is just so insightful, because I say this all the time too. People are just people, and I walk into a room and sometimes my title, speaks louder than I do. And I really want to make an effort to make people feel I'm approachable, right? And put people at ease. And you do a great job with that as well, just being real, as you said.
Yeah.
So tell me about this, being the oldest daughter. Tell me about your family and how many siblings and kind of what the age ranges are.
Yeah, I am the oldest by quite a few years. I have a brother who's younger than me by 7 years, and then my sister, I think she's 9 years younger than I am, 8. years, and she now has 3 small girls who are the love of my life. They live very close to me out in the suburbs. And then I have a stepsister who's the same age as my sister. And my family tree is like a weeping willow tree that loops around and wraps around itself. My parents were divorced and both remarried when I was in high school. So I have siblings that are younger than my 2 children. I've got a 15 and a 16-year-old. But I have a brother that is 15, and I have a sister that is 15, just about to be 16 next month, and a brother that is 12.
Wow, I love that analogy of the weeping willow tree. Those are beautiful trees,
They
by the way.
are,
I
but they're
love
very
this.
difficult to explain to a kindergartner. When my kids went to Catholic school back in the day and they were like,
Yeah.
well, we have this family tree project, I was like,
Mm.
we will do some very artistic branches.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, tell me about your family, your kids, your husband.
Yeah. So I am married to Jesse. Um, we've been together 10 years. Oh, married 10 years, together almost 20. Very long time. And I have a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old. My daughter is 16. She just got her driver's license not very long ago and is running the roost
What's her
most
name?
times. Nora. Eleanor, we call her Nora. And my son is 15. That's Liam. And he is my homebody guy, but he's very tech savvy. And so anytime we have internet issues, he's the man in charge.
Nora and Liam and
Hmm.
Jesse. Great names.
We're not Irish at all, I swear.
It's interesting because Liam is a very popular name right here in this office.
I
I
know
think
there's
there's
3 of us,
3.
Katie and
Yeah,
Apurva and
yeah.
myself.
And it's William, but called Liam? Your son, or is he Liam?
Liam is from the name William.
Okay,
But no, Liam
just
is
Liam.
just Liam.
Yeah, because I think for Apurva, it's William, but he calls him Liam, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
You'll
Okay.
have him next.
Yeah. So they're very close in age, 15 and 16?
They are Irish twins, 11
Ah,
months apart to the day. So Nora was November 15th, 2008, and Liam was October 15th, 2009.
very cool. So what do you guys like to do as a family?
It differs year to year. We really like to travel and try new things. When my kids were small, we used to have the Adventurers Club, so we'd take hikes and pick up random bugs and leaves, and we'd call it the Denning Adventurers Club. We still do that. We just go a little bit farther than we used to when the budget allows. Where we just went on a cruise for my 40th birthday, but that was just me and my husband, which was
Nice.
lovely. Yeah, we're kind of getting towards that stage where we get to hang out together again. Like before we had kids, our kids are very busy. They both work and do different activities, hang out with friends a little bit more than they like to hang out with us. So it's been me and my husband taking the last couple trips, but um, my daughter has an itch. She wants to go to Europe. So I think when she graduates, she's taken French for a couple years now. I think we want to do Paris in a couple years. And those trips take a while to save up for.
Yeah.
So
Those are big trips, but trips that, Nora and Liam will remember for a
never
lifetime,
forget.
right?
That's
Never
right.
never forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got into Disney over COVID. One of our family projects was watching all of the Marvel movies in timeline order. So um, we were initially supposed to take them on their first Disney trip right before COVID hit. And we had to cancel that trip, obviously, because everything shut down. So as soon as it reopened, we went down to Disney World because they opened before Disneyland did. And it was right when the vaccine started coming out, very early after. And the kids had the best time, and they were in a weird stage of their life where Nora was dealing with some bullies and, you know, in your preteen stage, you feel like you have to act older than you are. And so the kids would fight a lot at home. And we got down to Disney and they were holding hands and skipping down Main Street. And so that's when I was like, oh, I get it. This is why people spend so much money on these Disney
Mm-hmm.
trips. So we kind of become a little bit of a Disney family. We just took them back to Disney World in November for Nora's Sweet 16, and that was like a family bucket list trip. We stayed at the Polynesian Hotel
Oh,
and did all the
nice.
meals um, but you get to go back there and act like a kid. So we probably spent more money than you should on Disney World, but
Of course.
we're still kind of in that
Always.
stage.
Yeah,
Always, for sure.
we were definitely a Disney family as well. We would go there every year
I know. My
on
husband's like,
spring
"Are we
break.
done with this yet? Like, can we go somewhere
Yeah,
else,
they
please?"
get addicted because it is fun,
It
and,
is.
you're on vacation right away as soon as you get there.
Yep.
No easing into it, you just go right in the parks and you're on vacation, and
Yeah.
kids are generally in a good
Package
mood.
deal.
Yeah. So, that was during COVID, your Nora and Leah must have been, like, what, around 11?
They
12?
were, yeah, 12, 13. I'm not doing math correctly in my head, I'm sure.
But
But somewhere around the
tough
preteen
ages
stage.
for be
Very vulnerable. Yeah.
working working from home,
While we were
doing
doing
school,
that
yeah.
too.
But how was that, as a mom, managing
I
through that with preteens?
I'm like you where I am used to a certain level of chaos.
Yeah.
Um, that was very unique because it
Mhm.
wasn't so chaotic. The whole world just went completely quiet. And then it forced you to like only look at the people that you live with and only be introspective because what else do you have time for?
Mhm.
You've watched all the shows on Netflix, so now what? Um, so it was interesting, and I think we'll be studying the effects of that on our kids' generation for a very, very long time because we're still figuring it out. I think, people are so resilient, kids especially. So my kids have really found their people now that everything is back to normal. But it was tough coming back out of that where some of those most crucial social years of junior high and later elementary school were spent in their room and they were given such adult-like responsibilities to get on your right class and know what you're expected to say and do and read and where do you find that? I don't know.
Yeah.
um, so it was really, really interesting. And even as an adult couple, me and my husband, it was like, what do we talk about anymore? I don't know. We
Yeah.
spent probably a little bit too much money on alcohol from Costco because at some point,
Mhm.
one of my specialties over Costco was perfecting the Ina Garten Cosmo. I made a great Cosmo, but I was like
Oh,
embarrassed to throw out all my
the
bottles on
Ina
fresh.
what?
Ina Garten, the chef,
Okay, well, now tell me about this Cosmo.
she
I'm very interested.
it's fantastic. It's, so fresh as you can get cranberry juice,
Mhm.
Cointreau instead of orange, or sweet and sour or whatever else people make it with, but Cointreau is a pretty pricey orange liqueur, um, and then a good vodka, a little Grey Goose.
Grey Goose. All
Mhm.
right. Excellent. Well, I'm gonna have to give that a try. I also like it really cold,
Yeah,
you
it's gotta
know.
be on in a chilled
Freeze
glass,
the yeah, freeze your glasses,
shake it
have them
really,
chill.
really well.
Yep, yep, get
Mhm.
some ice crystals in there.
I wish I had the palate for, like, a good dirty martini, I just don't.
See, that's what I like.
Maybe we should just make this a
Yeah,
mixology
we
podcast.
we could do that. Whenever I order it too, I say it with 3 olives, because if you say extra olives, you get 2. So if you specify 3 olives or 4 olives, I mean, because that's why I drink the martini for the
The
olives,
salt, yes.
This yeah,
Clearly, we're
yeah.
dehydrated and need the salt.
Clearly, clearly. Well, let's transition a little bit to your childhood. Tell me about you, Megan, as a little girl, and you're the oldest sibling. You're taking care. You're the caretaker of your family. What were the kinds of things you liked to do when you were little?
I was, super social when I was
No,
little. My kids yeah.
you've changed a lot then.
My brother and sister were a little bit far from me to be like my friend
Hmm.
siblings,
Yeah.
when we were quite young. Me and my sister weren't really great friends until we were adults and I started having kids, and then she was my girl. She was there for me
Hmm.
all the time when I had my babies. Um, but when I was a kid, I really had to look outside of the home for, like, my social life. So my mom plugged me into a church youth group, and I had a lot of really great friends at a church youth group. We did all sorts of really exciting things like trips and volunteer projects, and so very socially active. I played basketball and volleyball, and I did never stuck with any one thing. My ADD kicked in real early, but was never diagnosed, and so I tried literally every instrument.
Mm.
I cannot play a single thing today. I couldn't. If you sat me down at a piano, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
No, I tried guitar, flute, clarinet, never stuck with it. I did play sports the longest. I think it was probably the team aspect that kept me interested on the activity level. And I ran into some bullying in high school and just was like, "Man, I'm over it. It's a little too competitive." It was kind of out of my wheelhouse. Um, I had a train of thought on this one and now I lost it. But yeah, I did the youth groups, did sports. Um,
So with the ADD, the social thing, I mean, that's, from what I've seen, because both of my daughters have ADD, by the way, that it is that ability to just kind of stay focused on one thing versus the social. You can just bounce around, you can talk to
yeah.
lots of people, you can, just be in the moment.
Yes.
We were talking about that earlier before we
It's a
started
struggle.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can bounce around and have 17 different conversations, but to have one conversation is kind of a struggle for me. And I did
Well, you're
continue.
doing a great job. We're,
Well, you're just
it's just the two of us.
you're so easy to talk to. Um, but I continued through life quite non-traditionally. I did not go off to college. I was not the best student in high school because I was so socially focused, and I didn't have much of a North Star. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and so I went away to be an au pair for a few years in Ireland. I applied on the
Really?
internet back when it was not even
Wow.
like a safe thing to do. I got on some random website and emailed this host family, and they're like, "Awesome, we'll buy your ticket." And my mom dropped me off 2 weeks before Christmas after I graduated from high school at the airport to go to Ireland to meet with complete strangers. And that was an adventure, but this is kind of how I jump into most things in my life. So I did that. I came home and then they called me and asked me to come back for a few more months because the mother was not well health-wise. And then when I got back, I went to COD for a couple semesters and worked at the Olive Garden in the suburbs nearby. That's actually where I met my husband. We did not like each other when we first met. We didn't get along. I was mean. He was
Ah.
super sensitive.
Ah. So
um,
he pursued you hard then?
No,
No.
no. I think initially he might argue with that. Maybe I just ignored him. Maybe I
Mhm.
pretended not to notice. But we became really good friends and ended up roommates. He went to DeVry and stuff happens, and all of a sudden he was like, "Well, I'm either moving back to New York or I got to find somewhere to go." And I was like, "Well, I'll just come move in with me and my roommate." So we still are in contact with our roommate Sarah and call her roomie. We're just the three roomies. Um, but we didn't get married right away. I didn't believe in marriage for a long time. My parents were divorced, my grandparents were divorced, so were my husbands. It was like a generational thing before it was even a socially acceptable thing, and so I was like, "What are we gonna I don't want if it's not broke, don't fix it." And then we had kids who went to Catholic preschool, and my daughter really loved the tradition and the structure of Catholic education. She wanted to get her first communion. And we were part of a parish at the time that was like, well, unless you guys are married, like we can't honor this. And so we had a really, um, we had like a face to face about a relationship and like what obviously we're never separating. He's my man and I'm
Mhm.
his person and for the kids' sake, of course. So we decided to go ahead and get married. At the time, my mom was subletting at the Radisson Blu around the corner, and we got a great deal on like their condo meeting space, and it was the
Hmm.
best party we could ever throw.
Aw, and your kids were able to be there.
Yeah, they were.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what they thought about that, but they were very small. They were like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah. Huh. I would be interested to know if they remember it.
They do. Well, they'll tell you they do. I don't know how much they do.
Yeah. Pictures. They see the pictures and then it's like, "Oh, I was there. I think
They
I was there."
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we lived in Berwyn, a near west suburb, and I worked at Loyola Medical Center as an admin assistant. That friend of a friend of a friend worked there, and they hired me as an admin assistant, front desk woman at a doctor's office, and that was kind of my first exposure into like a real job, like a desk job. Um, and I had a mentor there at Loyola who, over several months of knowing her, looked at me and she said, "Did you not go to college because of the loans?" And I think at the end of the day, that was one of the biggest things that deterred me. I didn't really know what I wanted to study. There's so much pressure put on people to like know what you want to be when you grow up very young. Um, but it was definitely a money thing. And she said, everybody in this whole country has student loans. So don't let that be the reason that you don't go back to school. And Loyola has a reimbursement program. So I did, me and my husband at the same time with two small children. Um, went back for our bachelor's degrees. And both of us got our degrees in 2 years, or slightly under. And so everything in my life has been just a little bit non-traditional,
Mhm.
and here we are. It just kind of works out.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, good for you
I
because
don't
that
recommend it. I
yeah,
just
I was gonna say that must have
If
been
my daughter is listening,
very
you're not allowed to do that.
that must have been very difficult
Yeah.
to graduate in 2 years, mother of small children,
Working
and
full
you were still
time.
working full time.
Mhm.
So, good for you, Megan.
Thanks.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
realize now how insane that was, and that there's a
Yeah.
reason that there's a timeline for most things as I prepare my kids for that timeline. But yeah, I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, I have the philosophy that, when you look back on your life and you see all these different things that you did, they make sense in retrospect, right? Like, oh, that happened because of this, and if that wouldn't happen, this wouldn't have happened, and
Domino effect.
yeah,
Absolutely.
totally. So, what do you think you got from your experience being in an au pair and going to Ireland? What did that teach you, or what did you get from that
I
experience?
think the experience of being in another country is immediately enriching.
Hmm.
It teaches you to be independent. It teaches you to be aware of your surroundings. Even in a safe country like Ireland, as a teenage kid, you have to be heads up, like who's around me, you know. Um, it taught me how to. I probably innately knew this anyway, just being a Gemini, being my experience in a big family. Shift to match the people around you a little bit, and how do I adjust my communication so that this works out better, and how do I adjust my schedule so that I can serve the folks around me or that I'm here to work for or whatever. Um, but definitely I think there's something about being in another country, particularly by yourself, that really forces you to grow up quite quickly.
Yeah, and be
Um,
social.
and yeah, you have to, or it's
Like,
very
you're
isolating.
moving in with a family you haven't met, and you're watching the kids. That's amazing. That's not a lot of people could do that, Megan.
No, I don't know that I would let my kid do that now. Had she
Yeah,
but I didn't ask my mom for permission in my mom's defense. I just told her that I was doing
that's
it. Is that surprising? Probably not.
no, no,
No.
not surprising to me. So you were how long were you there?
I was there on and off for about 3 years. I came back twice.
Yeah. Did you
Mhm.
consider staying there?
I love the country. The country of
Yeah,
Ireland is stunning. The people are lovely. Um, but no, probably not. I mean,
yeah.
maybe now that my kids are almost through public school system, and um, at a point, no, probably not.
No. Okay.
Maybe for extended vacations,
Yeah.
but no, I probably wouldn't move.
Now, was there anyone that was a particular mentor when you were younger or someone, that really inspired you, even when like even today or particularly from childhood or if not
Mm.
from adulthood?
So my grandmother, my dad's mom, Rosie Keating, just passed away last summer.
Mm,
She was um, my heart mentor. She just loved everybody around her. Didn't matter if you were related to her, how you were related to her, in what ways you crossed
mm,
paths. She was just the most engaging, lovely older Irish woman, who never judged a soul, never had a bad word to say about anyone, um, and accepted me, was the first one in my family to rope my husband in as family, even though we weren't married, very long time. She would always say, "Look at this boy's eyes." She'd grab his face and say, "He's got the best eyes." She was, and she just passed, so it's fresh from last year.
mhm,
And when that happens and you lose someone in your life, it forces
mhm,
you to be like, "Oh, that was a big loss." You
mhm.
don't think about it until sometimes it's a little bit too late.
Well,
Um,
I think Rosie lives on through
oh,
you
absolutely.
because the way that you describe her, that's what I would say about
Yeah.
you.
Oh, she was a saint for sure.
Yeah. Your big heart and your ability to make
Mhm.
people feel seen and, just brighten their day.
Oh, yeah, I picked up
That's
those
Megan.
things from her too.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Megan. Well, at this point, it's time to, turn the tables, and I want to give you an opportunity to ask me a question.
Okay.
Anything at all that you might like to know.
This was what I was most nervous about, because I don't wanna ask you something that people have already asked you before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, what is your biggest regret, if you have one?
Oof. Mm.
Or maybe your biggest failure if you don't have it, a regret that comes to mind, and what did you learn from that?
Hmm. I would say my biggest regret is, how we were talking earlier, I think before we started the podcast, about how important it is to be present
Mm,
and not, get lost in your head. And, you could be sitting in a room of, 20 people, but you are not there mentally and your mind is someplace else and you're distracted. I feel like I spent a lot of my 20s and 30s and even into my 40s like that, like not being as centered and grounded as I am today. And when you are a mother
mm.
and a full time working mom, and you have a lot of demands from both your career and you want to be there for your kids, I feel like I spent so much of my life just in the hustle, right? The hustle. Like, okay, let's get ready, let's get ready, let's get out the door, let's go,
The
let's go, let's
rush.
go,
Yeah.
versus really experiencing it on with multi senses. Not just physically being there, but really enjoying the small moments. I look back on it now and, there were so many moments that I did enjoy, but knowing how grounded I am today, I feel like I wish I would have been like that back then.
It's so funny that you say that because I feel that's probably my biggest regret too. Um, but I think we do it for survival. I
We
think we
do.
evolutionarily as women just protect our brain
Mhm.
from the chaos in that way. And we just keep it moving,
Keep it moving,
keep
right?
everybody moving in one direction, and we just
Yep.
take it day to day. But at the end of the decade or the end of the day, the end of the week, whatever it is, I do often have that like, ugh, I could have done that differently.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
wish I would have shown up for that or in this way and sometimes it's
Mhm.
even for myself. I wish I would have shown up better for myself in that moment.
Mhm.
But your reminder to just take a breath,
Yeah.
be
And
there.
and I also think that wisdom comes with age,
Mm.
unfortunately. You
I've got a way
you
to go then. Right,
no,
Maggie?
I mean, it's like you can time gives you the ability to reflect, back on what your life was like in those years,
Yeah.
right? And when you're in your 20s, you can't really reflect on being a young adult because you're a young adult for the first time, right? So each decade that goes by, you grow as a person, you gain more wisdom, and so it's not really a regret because I don't know that I could have been different back then. But I think it's in that ability to reflect and think now about
Mhm.
how am I going to show up differently going forward.
Yeah. Get more out of it going forward
Right.
for sure.
All right. Well, Megan Denning, this has been amazing. You're an amazing person.
Well, now you can ask me to
And
do this anytime. Now I feel
yeah,
great.
yeah, you inspire me. Thank
Aw.
you.
You too, Kath. You inspire this whole company, honestly. So we're proud to be here doing this with you.
Thank you.